Good afternoon, Search Committee. I'm Stephen Davis, and I am coming to you as your future member of the Widener College of Health and Human Service Professions. I am interested in the full-time faculty position that you have available, and I am so sorry that due to COVID, we can't meet in person. Luckily, we have all of this technology at our disposal to be able to access and mitigate safety and make sure that we're maintaining social distancing and supporting the stop of the spread of COVID. I wanted to talk about the elephant in the room because we are socially distant. Normally this interview would be done in person. There would be the possibility of handshakes. We would be able to feel the energy of the room, feel the vibe, and I hope that I'll be able to present this vibe that I carry with me and that I cultivate in my presence in this video as well as I do in person. I chose Widener because it's got a long-standing history of community involvement. It was founded in 1866, the College of Health and Human Service Professions, and continually is recognized as one of the best social work programs. It's always in the top 10 social work programs in Pennsylvania. You have esteemed colleagues on staff that share interests with me and research. You have Dr. Goldberg Glenn, who is doing great research with gerontology. You have Dr. Myrick and Dr. Satterley, who are both LGBT, affirmative focused. And you have Dr. Barnett, who is leading our generation of social workers with policy and implementing and how to best interact with public policy in the social work profession. I come to you as a student in the Widener PhD program, but also as a longtime social worker. I studied my MSW at the Westchester Center City campus located at 8th and Market in Philadelphia, and I was blessed to be able to have some amazing mentors there, one of which was Janae Akbar, who has afforded opportunity for me to be a part of panel discussions and to do curriculum development. We worked together for some curriculum improvements for the social media and social work class that's offered in the summer at Westchester. And I also had the esteemed opportunity to work with Antar Bush, who is a graduate of the MSW program in Center City, and also the owner and proprietor of Outpour, which is an LGBT production company. And I was able to work with Antar, who was adjuncting at Penn State Abington, which is my alma mater, and the Fordham University located in New York. I was able to do graduate assistant work for him. I facilitated online discussions, graded papers, projects, and made sure to support the students in maintaining a professional environment on their online discussion forums and implementing feedback to enhance their social work education. When I was at Westchester, I had a long-standing recognition in the community of Westchester Center City. I was the president of Phi Alpha, which is a student-led honor society. I was a peer mentor, which is a program that was set up for senior students that have been in second or third year of the program to help to usher in first year students and acclimate them to the program, act as a guide if they had any questions, and support them as they're going through their MSW program. I was also the student liaison for the MSW program, which means I sat in many panels and faculty meetings and discussions implementing changes to the MSW program in terms of the student focus and bringing to light what the cohort of students that were at Westchester were interested in seeing, and articulating those discussions as a liaison between the student body and the faculty. I also was part of the Inclusion and Diversity Task Force at Westchester Center City, as majority of the campus comes from an urban environment and are non-traditional graduate students. It was important to have a community that was diverse and could meet the needs of our students. Which brings me to why we're here today is I want to join the Widener community and continue on my path of learning and discovery, both for myself and for the next generation of social workers. I was trying to think about a quote that I could summarize my being. And the quote that came to mind was from the 7th Harry Potter book. I am part of the Harry Potter generation. I grew up with social justice as a motivator and looking to fix broken systems. Hermione Granger, one of the main characters, states that actually I'm highly logical, which allows me to look past extraneous details and perceive clearly that which others overlook. That's from the Deathly Hallows Harry Potter novel. And for myself, I think that that epitomizes who I am. I'm always seeing connections where others overlook them. I'm able to look at a very broad view of issues and see not necessarily a hyper focus of what's in the current, but look at the end goals and see a path of how we can get from where we are currently to where our goal is. One of the great tools for personality and communication that I rely on is the Myers-Briggs. The Myers-Briggs breaks up and identifies 16 personalities, which are focusing on introverted and extroverted feeling and thinking. And the model really gives insight of how interactions can occur and be empowered by knowing how each party views the world and digests information, because it's imperative to know how does someone learn, how does someone communicate, and be able to present information in a way that's going to be productive to the conversation. ENTJs are labeled as the champion or the leader, depending on what literature you're looking at. And they see the world in a grand scale and are solutions driven. I think that brings power to my teaching strategies. I look to use pop culture references and relate the material back to students. And my personal style of teaching leans toward pragmatism. This empowers the value of a person in their environment. We, as social workers working in the field, you always talk about person and environment, meeting the client where they are. And the same, I feel, should be brought to the classroom. Each student brings with them an individual perspective and a life of history that we don't have access to, but that empowers their practice. And much like when Hermione runs to the library to look for the history of a problem and looking at the facts, when teaching, it is important to meet your students where they are, to focus on being an advocate for the vulnerable and oppressed communities that they're servicing, and promoting the integrity of professionalism. Students will be future coworkers, so treating them with respect and communicating in a professional manner is of the utmost importance. And I am a firm follower of the mentor-mentee relationship that has been successful for me in the past. being able to have a reciprocal approachability with students and your co-faculty is imperative for building this next generation of social workers so they can kick butt and take names. Other theories that really influence my practice are critical theory. I am wanting to empower every social worker to identify and critique weaknesses in the system as well as strengths. I want to empower social work students to propose solutions when they identify the issue. We can all point and poke holes at what's wrong with society. Let's get on the bandwagon. Here we are. Here's where we stand. How can we get to where we want to be? And critical theory looks at historical context and how those mindsets have negatively impacted the population. And when I think about fighting the good fight as a social worker, it's definitely looking back to look forward. You have to see where we've been to get to where we're going. And I take a page out of the radical pedagogy, which in layman's terms is just teaching in different ways. I believe that conversations can elicit just as much information and digestion of literature as a lecture could. And it's very important that self-learning occur because then the students are able to identify cultural relevance to the literature, and they're able to relate it to present day events and really feel empowered in their social work journey. As a member of the Y2K generation and the last generation before the introduction of social media at such a young age, for I was part of the generation where social media was invented, the AOL chat rooms, the phone chat lines, MySpace, pre-Facebook, before everybody had a cell phone. And making sure that we were in the know about what was going on in the world was so important to my collective and the individuals I surround myself with. So bringing social justice as a empowering philosophy to my social work practice is something that will be evident every day in lecture, in teaching, in communication, and how I present Widener and represent them on a global scale. One of the important factors of my teaching is that I am a member of the LGBT population, and Widener has a history of inclusion, and that was really important to me when looking for a position. I articulate that the very nature of current society is the systematic exclusion of subcultures of society, such as LBGT, disabled individuals, individuals of color, women, children, individuals that are facing trauma and have mental health. And that is at the forefront of my practice and what I bring to the classroom. I also bring glitz and glam and just a joy for educating and waking up and wanting to social work every day. I hope to hear back from you guys and be able to follow up with any more questions you might have. And I just wanted to thank you for your time.